Hello, everybody. I'm Orville Susong of the Friday Night Locker Room and Space Coast Daily TV. Coming to you today from the Erdman Automotive Studio, located at the intersection of U.S. Highway number 1 and Highway 520 in Cocoa. Today's segment is brought to you by Erdman Automotive and sponsored by Auto Expo 95. My guest today is a longtime Brevard County native who graduated from Melbourne High School in 1999. He's coached and played baseball at every level of the game. I want to introduce you today to my guest, Jason Arnold. Jason, welcome.
I appreciate you guys having me out.
You know, I've been trying to do this interview with you for 3 years now. Every time you make a move or do something different, hey, let's go do an interview. And it never works out. But now you had another highlight. You've been named the Merritt Island High School baseball coach. So I grabbed you and got you in here, and I appreciate you coming over.
Yeah, it's good for it finally to work out, and it's good to be here with you. Appreciate you guys.
Not a problem at all. Now let's talk about the Merritt Island program. Well, let's talk about you a little bit first. Give us a little background on Jason Arnold.
Yeah, I grew up here in Melbourne, Brevard County, pretty much my whole life. A couple stints in pro ball and coaching in college away, but always found our way back home. I've coached in high school and college, and got to coach Little League a little while after I made the jump to ministry. But yeah, baseball's really a big piece of who I am and our family, and just glad to be back on the field with the guys for sure.
You know, I remember you back in the Melbourne High School days, as you well know. You left Melbourne High School and you went over to UCF. And if I'm not mistaken, you still have a couple records over there from the mound, a big right-hander, throwing heat.
Yeah.
But what did you throw as far as velocity?
Well, back then, I guess at my peak, I was probably like 94 to 98, something like that.
Which back then was really, really hot.
Yeah, we don't want to say that was harder than today, but allegedly that's harder than today's gun. Yes, I don't know, I'm not sure.
Back then, let's talk a little bit about the transition real quick from Melbourne High School to college ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was an eye-opening experience where you kind of go from being the best guy in town and really never having to been challenged all that much to just being another guy in the locker room. And when you get there and you realize, hey, you're number 13 out of 15 pitchers to start, your work ethic is really going to improve, or you're going to find something else that you might be good at. And I'm thankful for the coaches and teammates that pushed me there to kind of help me become what I was capable of being.
Now your career ends at UCF and you get a phone call from Major League Baseball. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was neat. We got a chance to get drafted after my junior year, and just didn't feel like it was the right situation or the right fit. So went back to school at UCF, and then the Yankees drafted me, and I got to kind of go on that professional baseball journey that a lot of young boys dream of, and got to do that for 6 years and go here and there. Spent a couple years on the 40-man and just travel the country, and make you appreciate Brevard County, for one thing, for sure. It was good to be back home as well, but really grateful to the game for all the experiences and life journeys that I've got to go on because of baseball.
I know it was the Yankees that made the phone call to you, obviously a storied program. But if you look back on those years in the majors, what do you think is your best remembrance, or what gets you the most excited, or the wow of baseball?
Yeah, I mean, for me, really, it was college baseball. That was probably my most fun, exciting time, just because you're with the same guys for longer. And in college, it's a group of guys that are competing for the same prize and the same thing. Whereas in pro ball, you got guys constantly moving up and down and getting traded, getting let go, and before you know it, it's an individualized version of what a team sport really is. But I mean, pro ball was cool too. I got to do some neat stuff. Got traded a couple times, which really introduced me to the business side of the game a little faster than I realized. But just so many great people. The people is what it is. A lot of guys that I stay in touch with to this day, and get to see the neat stuff that they're doing. Some of them in the game, and some of them in other stuff. But really, that's the cool thing about sports and baseball in particular, is just the relationships that you build, and then getting to keep up with each other over the years. And baseball has that the way of keeping guys together for sure.
Did you ever meet George?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I threw a no-hitter my first year in minor league ball, and then just one day in the weight room, pre-spring training, I guess, my first year in spring training, yeah, he just came through and I was about the hardest handshake I ever had in my life. It was about crumpled me up. I wasn't ready for that.
You mentioned a no-hitter, Staten Island
Yeah.
against Vermont. No-hitter, it's 2001. Do you remember how many strikeouts you had?
Yeah, 15, I think.
15,
Yeah,
that's
that was-
correct.
that
Yeah,
was-
15 strikeouts,
Yeah.
1 walk. That had to be another highlight of your career.
Yeah, for sure. On the field, that was definitely a highlight. Was a special night. It's one of those nights you dream of. Everything's working, and no matter what you do, it seems to work out right. The crowd was special that night. It was on the road, but there was a lot of folks there, and so many stayed after and wanted autographs on the tickets and all
There you
that.
go.
I think it was maybe my 5th career start, so it wasn't in pro. Oh, gosh.
Will you autograph my Jason Arnold
No,
Yankees baseball card? No, you will not.
It might fall apart when you take it out of the sleeve.
Well,
It's so old now.
If you just write on the
I'll do it, yeah,
plastic,
yeah,
that
I'll do
way,
that for you.
that way, if they say it's not worth anything, if he signed it, I can pull it out
either
of
way.
the plastic. So we come full circle here. You've been on Merritt Island with your family for 10 years. You were at the Brevard Eastern Florida State College for a while, and I know you're a very faithful man. You take a lot into your faith. Talk a little bit about that. That's got to be one of the best things in your life.
Yeah, without question. Yeah, coaching at Eastern Florida was a good experience, and then just kind of kept feeling the call, the more and more things at church and the ministry call, and then when Pastor Corky Calhoun called me in the office and said that he would like me to consider this job, it was kind of like, wow, this is not baseball, full time, but it really has been a blessing for sure. I've been over there for about 3.5 years now at Georgiana, and it's a great fit for me and for my family. And it's really, I tell people all the time, it's not too much different than coaching, really. I mean, you're constantly around young people and trying to help them with all the pitfalls and troubles of life. And whether you're doing that at church or on the field, it's a mentorship, and it's something to be taken seriously at all times.
I understand they're building a pretty good youth program over there.
Yeah, I mean, God's blessing it. There's no doubt about that. It's a cool place. We'll have, anywhere from 80 to 120 kids on a Sunday night, and it's a cool thing to be a part of. Just to kind of sit back and watch those kids grow is really neat.
So I know you know a little bit about the Merritt Island Mustangs, the high school ones anyway. You lived on Merritt Island for, what, 10, 11 years?
Yep.
You have coached in Merritt Island Little League. You have a travel ball team. A lot of the Merritt Island guys are on it. But what do you know about the Mustangs themselves?
Yeah, quite a bit, really. Just growing up here in town, spent a lot of time in the last few weeks talking with Tom Finney and Justin Nauman, the assistant AD, about just some of the historical things. And it's really one of the programs in the county that has the greatest tradition. Melbourne and O'Galley have some of those, and Rockledge for sure, especially the last 20 years. But Merritt Island has a rich tradition that dates back a long way.
Yeah, sure.
And it's neat to kind of dive into that now that I'm in this position, and I've been able to connect with some of those guys, some of the former coaches and players that have made a big impact there, and it's a special place. There's no doubt about that.
Well, you certainly come into Merritt Island High School with the experience, the knowledge, and the know-how. And I've been around you on baseball fields for quite a long time. I think the players really look at you and know that you're the guy. You've been doing it for a long time. You know how to do it. You're just not telling them to do something. I'm sure you'll be just as successful at Merritt Island High School as you have been in your whole career.
Well, I appreciate that. We'll see what happens. I hope so.
We'll come back in a year and we'll talk about that. And
maybe a couple of years.
Okay, we'll see what happens there. But
Yeah.
Jason, I certainly appreciate you coming by and talking to us a little bit about, number one, Jason Arnold, your family, your faith, and the Merritt Island Mustangs.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys having me out.
So for Jason Arnold and Zach Clark and Juan Rodriguez behind the camera there, I'm Marvel Susong in the Friday Night Locker Room and Space Coast Daily TV. I want to say hello to my broadcasting partner, Steve Wilson, who's on another assignment today, and thank a couple of our sponsors, Auto Expo 95, and as always, Erdman